So, as a lot of you guys know, I am the co-founder of the Progressive Charismatic Spiritualist Church of All Saints in Christ, which is a spiritualist church that me and Mama Sunfire started because it's based in spiritualism and kind of resembles a church structure. Also, I am the founder of the Ajay Phun Phun Temple, which is a spiritual temple that is based in Yoruba cosmology. Ifa, Orisha. Hi, thank you. Look at that. It looks like I have people. Looks like I've got motherfuckers watching me. Oh my God. Long time no see, motherfucker. Well, don't be shy. Make sure you subscribe and you like this video and say hello. You can say hello. Don't be a lurker. Don't be a creep. Don't be creepy. Say hi. If you like me, say hi. If you don't fucking like me, you can also say hi. That's just fine. Thank you. So, today's topic is going to be really, really, really broad. And it's my favorite subject or topic to be talking about. Oh my God. Here. I have no idea what that was all about. So we had to get rid of that person. We're going to be talking about Orisha or Orishas. Why? Because I am an Orisha priest. I went to Nigeria and in Nigeria, I got fully initiated in the Ifa Orisha religion and also got crowned my guardian Orisha Oshun. So even though I was not born and raised in Yoruba culture and Yoruba cosmology has become kind of like my interface when it comes to my cosmology and working with the spiritual world, because it is quite practical, it is quite logical, it makes a lot of sense, and I really, really love it. So we need to talk about, I want to tell you a little bit about Orisha, coming from my book, Wisdom of the Orishas by Philip Ryan Deal. This book is actually a book about the Arundel system of divination, the 16 cowrie shell divination system. This book is not closed. Anyone can read this book. Anyone can get benefit out of reading this book and learning about the system of divination used by people that practice the Orisha religion, because this is kind of like more of a commentary. My philosophy and commentary on the system is it is not going to teach you how to be an Orisha priest. Okay? In order to be an Orisha priest, you have to study, you have to learn, you have to practice, and there are protocols to understanding the divination system. So I will be completely straight up and honest when I say that this is my interpretation of the system, to be very clear. The Orisha religion is a world religion, just like Hinduism, Buddhism, Taoism, and Christianity. Archaeologists have determined it has been practiced in West Africa since at least 500 BCE, but probably is much older. During the transatlantic slave trade, the Orisha religion spread to the Western Hemisphere. It was most heavily practiced in the Caribbean and in Brazil, and it is referred to as Ishe, the tradition, Cuban Ifa, Lukumi, Santeria, Regla de Ocha, Brazilian Candomblé, Umbanda, or simply the Orisha religion. Hey, please speak English for everybody who is an English-speaking person in the audience. Antonio. And introduce yourself. So this spirituality is indigenous to West Africa, and it is based in ancestor veneration. It is based in animism, and it is based in spiritism. And that's what we're really going to get to the heart of today. We're really going to talk about the three oldest spiritualities that human beings have practiced around the world. So Orisha is not unique and it's not special in terms of its philosophy because it is rooted in an ancient understanding of how the world works. So what are the three oldest spiritualities? The three oldest spiritualities are ancestor veneration, animism, and spiritism. And we want to break those things down because having a deep understanding of these three components is going to help you understand better or more the overall understanding of this practice. Now, I want to be very, very clear, and this is going to piss off people who are in the religion, but I don't give a fuck what you think. Orishas are not closed. We talk about closed practices. The Orishas, as spirits, as entities, are not closed. Religions are closed. Like, there are initiation-based religions that you get initiated in order to practice the religion a particular kind of way. So if you're Cuban or you're Puerto Rican and you've gotten initiated into like the Lukumi religion, the Lukumi religion or the Santeria religion or Regla de Ocha or Ocha is a religion. It's practiced a specific kind of way, just like Catholicism is practiced a specific kind of way. In order to be a Catholic, you have to study, you have to get baptized, you have to get initiated into the Catholic Church. There are rites of passages. There are things that you have to do in order to be a good Catholic. You have to go take communion. You have to go, do confession. There's all kinds of standards, right, for being a Catholic. But if you're a Protestant Christian, like say you're a United Methodist Christian, the rules of the Catholic Church don't apply to you. Why do they not apply to you? Because you're not fucking Catholic. You understand? And it's the same thing with any religion. Buddhism. Tibetan Buddhists practice Tibetan Buddhism. Tibetan Buddhism and Zen Buddhism are two different kinds of Buddhism, but they're still Buddhism because they're still rooted in the same core concepts. And it's the same thing with the Orisha religion. Orisha is a world religion. It is practiced all over the world, and depending on what denomination, or a particular cult that you belong to, it is going to be practiced differently. And that is okay. Because a never-ending source of contention online, like on trash apps like TikTok, is people constantly fighting about who's right and who's wrong about practicing the tradition, which is a bullshit use of your time to sit around and argue about who's right and who's wrong, because it doesn't matter. The only person that matters is the individual that is developing a personal relationship with these spirits. The only person that matters is the person who is actually doing the work to create balance and harmony and to honor their ancestors, honor their spiritual court, and to honor the Orishas. Does that make sense? So just like there are Catholics and Greek Orthodox and Russian Orthodox, and there are Protestants, and there are Methodist, and there are Jehovah's Witnesses, and there's a whole variety of different kinds of Christians in the world, there is a huge variety of different kinds of people that practice the Orisha faith. And nobody is right, and nobody is wrong. So we need to talk about animism, because the core of Orisha is animistic. So we need to have an understanding of what animism is. Do you remember Beauty and the Beast? Disney and Disney cartoons and Disney films portray animism par excellence. Whenever you watch Beauty and the Beast, you know, back when I was a kid, and suddenly, who is it? The candelabra starts singing and dancing, the teapot, the teacups, the brooms, everything in the room, the drawers, the bed, everything seems to be alive. You know, Belle starts singing, and all of these inanimate objects around her start singing and moving and communicating with her. That's animism. Because the concept of animism is that inherently all things contain spirit and agency. Agency is very, very, very important. What does that mean? It means that I, as a human being, have a purpose, I have a destiny, I have the ability to think, feel, and communicate. Hey, Brenna, are you talking about indigenous spirituality in Alaska? Are you talking about indigenous spirituality? Well, that is exactly what we're talking about. The animism is an indigenous worldview, okay? And so the idea is, oh, that's great. That's wonderful. That's really, really good. Good for you. The idea here is that a tree has a purpose, it has a destiny, and it has the ability to communicate. So do fungus, mushrooms, so do animals, and by extension of that, rivers, lakes, wells, springs, mountains. And animism is also very, very closely tied to the land. Animism and animistic magic is tied to the land and to the earth, okay? But beyond that, animism also extends to inanimate objects that are created by people. Hey, Robin, you made it. So like a chair has a purpose, right? It has a destiny. And a chair has the ability to have agency in our life. Give you an example. Has anybody here named their car? If you have a car, have you named it? I name all my cars. I've had Jack 1, I've had Jack 2, I had Alejandro, and I also have had my current car is named Lucky. Okay, so I have named my my cars, and I actually interact with and I talk to my car. So like I might get in my car, Jelly Bean. I might get in my car, and before I start my car, I'll tap the dashboard and say, "Hey, Lucky, how you doing? Are you gonna give me some good gas mileage today? Are you gonna get me to where we need to go safely?" I communicate and I talk to my car because for one thing, I'm by myself a lot. And when you're by yourself a lot and you spend a lot of time alone, you do crazy shit like that. You just look crazy. I look crazy sitting there talking to myself in my car. You know what I'm saying? But the concept or the idea here is the same. The idea is your car has a purpose. Your car has an inevitable destiny, okay? It had a creation point. It has a job to do. It has an end point, okay? So there's a lifespan of a car. And when my last car got totaled and I had to turn it in because it would not go any farther, I was so depressed. It was like losing an animal because I paid that car off. That was my fucking car. It was paid off. And I had to get a new car and a new payment, and I'm still mad about it. But the car that I did have was a great car, and having to put it down. See what I mean? Like I'm talking about putting down my car in the same way someone puts down a horse. Oh, it was so devastating. It was devastating to have to put my car down, but it is what it is. The idea or the issue that I'm trying to get to right now is that we have objects in our life that matter to us. Another example of animism is, let's say, a pet rock. Does anybody ever have a pet rock? Remember that in the 80s? It was a rock with fur glued to it. And you bought this rock and you took it home. My mom took a shoebox and put like, I don't know, stuffing in the bottom of this box. And I had two pet rocks. I had a black one and a white one. I had three pet rocks. I had a black one, a white one, and then one that was like calico covered or calico colored. And I put these three rocks inside this shoebox on top of their little bedding, okay? And I talked to these rocks and I pretended these rocks ate, and that's what kids do. Naturally, by nature, children have kind of like an animistic worldview, which is why cartoons, Disney cartoons, and movies and things are interesting to children when there are non-human and non-animal objects that have the ability to talk, communicate, sing, and dance. Because a child's mind sees the world as being alive. But by conditioning, as we grow up, as we get older, through conditioning, we are taught that trees are not people. Rivers are not people. They're not conscious. We think as we get older, we associate cognitive abilities, human beings' cognitive abilities, as being in some way, shape, or form superior to all the other consciousness that exists in nature. We know for a fact that mycelium communicates with each other in communities in the forest. We know for a fact that trees also communicate with one another, okay? So human beings are quite arrogant. We are part of nature. We are not something that is separate from nature. okay, we have evolved out of nature. And yes, we have consciousness that's unique, but we're still definitely a part of nature. When you're embodied, when you're a person and you've got a physical body and you're walking around, you are part of nature. You're not something that is separate from it. Okay? So, this concept of animism is about being in community. The concept of animism is being in relationship to everything else. So, when you have an animistic worldview, it should cultivate inside of a person a deep level of respect for everything around them. Honor and respect is very, very important when it comes to living an animistically inclined life. Now, moving beyond animism as, let's say, a philosophy, let's talk about animistic magic. What is animistic magic? Well, the concept behind animistic magic is that we can construct and we can make things that are magical out of the materials that we find in nature. Indigenous African religions, such as Ifa, are animistic magic par excellence because Orishas are made, they're created, they're constructed, and then there are prayers, praise poetry, songs, invocations that are made to pull down, let's say, cosmic energies or earth energies or terrestrial or subterranean energies in order to inhabit objects. And so the pejorative term that Europeans used when they came to see Orisha practice was they called it idolatry, and they called it worshiping idols, and they called it, what is the word? Fetishes. Fetish. So you'll hear the word fetish used a lot in order to talk about, let's say, African magic or indigenous African magic. That's not fact. That's not actually true. Okay, we need to delve into this a little bit more. The idea in animistic magic is that I can create or put together an object that is going to contain or hold a particular kind of ashe. What is ashe? Ashe is like energy and power. So I can create a vessel that I can charge, that I can empower, that I can program, that I can devote to a particular kind of force. And through the proper ritual actions, I can get that force to thrive, live, and be contained within a portion of that can be contained within a particular vessel. So vessels are very, very important in the Orisha tradition. Whenever someone gets initiated, let's say in Ifa, they're going to receive a keen, which is the nuts, the sacred nut, okay, that represents and is Ifa. Whenever you receive an Orisha like I received my Oshun came in a calabash, and that particular calabash contains the mysteries of Oshun. So there's a kind of sympathetic magic that happens in animism, whereas this affects that. I use these materials, it pulls or it draws from I don't know why I've got these fucking little, the gnats have come back. The gnats have come back and they're driving me fucking insane. Like I'm losing my mind over here with the gnats. I don't know. They decided to show up yesterday, and I've got to get rid of these things. They're driving me insane because I'm sitting here on my computer. I'm talking to you, and one flies right past my face. I know that I need to get like a spray bottle and put some essential oils in there to kill these things. Well, I need, I need to flush my drain. I need to flush my drain. So I don't remember exactly where I was, but I think I was talking about animistic magic. Palo Mayombe, Palo Kambisa, Palo Briomba, all the Palos, Congo magic, all of that also has animism associated with it. Because once again, in these particular practices, the making of and constructing of vessels or tools that are dedicated to, consecrated over, and empowered and charged are a very, very primary. It's primary. Those practices are primary when it comes to practicing this particular tradition. But now let's get back to Orishas for a second, because I said that I wanted to talk about Orishas tonight, and we need to define, we want to start to talk about or define what an Orisha is. This is going to be a little complicated. It's complicated and easy. So in Yoruba cosmology, there is Oludumare. Oludumare is the supreme creator, God Almighty, the womb of creation in Ifa and Orisha spirituality. It is a primordial force, and it is feminine. And Odu is associated with the foundation of destinies and also the process of manifestation. Reading directly from my book, the name Oludumare is often broken down as Olu, supreme, lord or owner, Odu, womb, container or source, Mare, eternal, infinite, and unfathomable. So the supreme owner of the divine womb, the infinite source of creation, this is the language that is used to describe Almighty God in the Yoruba, in Yoruba culture. And Oludumare is not Yahweh. Oludumare is not Jehovah, not like the Old Testament God. Yahweh or Jehovah, whatever you want to call, or however you want to address that particular entity, okay, is an ethnic god. It's a tribal god. It's a tribal storm god that belongs to the Jews, right? And that particular entity made a pact, right, with Abraham that I will be your God and you will be my people. And even up until today, I don't want to use language because I don't want YouTube to confuse my live with other stuff that's going on in the Middle East, because it's not about that. Hey, Sage, peace and love and blessings. However, this Yahweh God is a tribal God. Oludumare is not the tribal god of the Yoruba people. Oludumare is the supreme all, God of everyone, of every race and ethnicity, of all things. And if we wanted to compare Oludumare in Yoruba cosmology to, let's say, Hinduism, then Oludumare would be like Brahman, the source and the ground of all being. Now, that being said, what is an Orisha? Well, an Orisha is not a god. The Orishas are not worshipped like gods. And even though you see a pantheon, let's say, in Yoruba mythology when it comes to like Oshun, Yemoja, Obatala, Shango, Ogun, Orunmila, and all of the different Orishas, they're not gods in the same way like the Greeks had gods or the Roman gods. Not the same thing, not the same concept at all. They could be referred to as gods. You know, you've heard people say Oshun is an African river goddess, and they try to compare Oshun to, let's say, Aphrodite. However, that is not the way it actually works in Orisha spirituality. We have to look at the Orishas as avatars, are individual manifestations of the Supreme Creator Oludumare. Orishas are universal archetypes that are found in cultures of antiquity. Orishas are divine aspects of consciousness in nature. Orishas are also elevated spirits of the dead. They're ancestors, guardian spirits. They're heroes and kings and saints of the Yoruba people. And energy consciousness, universal energy flowing uniquely through or around different types of people, places, and things. Let me say that one more time, okay? Orishas are energy consciousness, universal energies flowing uniquely through or around different types of people, places, and things. So the concept of an Orisha is quite broad, in the same way that the Japanese indigenous religion called Shinto has a concept of kami, K-A-M-I. The kami are not gods. There are a great variety of spiritual entities, and Orishas are also a variety of spiritual entities, okay? But to get down to it, Ori is the word for head, and Sha means chosen or picked. So Orisha can be translated as chosen head, or a head that has been chosen. This is very important to understand, that Orishas are people, the ones that we interact with most intimately, let's say within this spirituality. They're people. They're elevated ancestors and saints, in the same way that people will petition saints in the Catholic Church as being highly elevated entity spirit people that have the ability to work on behalf of an individual person and mediate between, let's say, human beings and God, you know, in the Catholic Church or in other Christian denominations that do saint veneration. It's the exact same thing within the context of how Orishas are venerated. So we honor the Orisha. We do ancestor veneration. But God Almighty, Oludumare, Olorun, is who we worship. We worship God. But the Orishas act as intermediaries between us and the divine, and they're ancestral heroes, saints, kings, warriors that were deified after they passed away, and were also associated with natural forces. Okay? I hope that makes sense to you. I just kind of like want to kind of throw this out there, because the last night we did a podcast for the Progressive Charismatic Spiritualist Church of All Saints in Christ. We did the Church of All Saints podcast, me and Erica Shadow Song, High Priestess Erica, and Mama Sunfire. Ian Ifa, Mama Sunfire, and we talked about spirit guides. And in the Ifa cosmology, there's a concept called Egbe, and there's a concept called Egun or Egungun. And Egungun specifically relates to blood ancestors, people who are your blood ancestors, people in your lineage, people that share your DNA. You are the most recent version of all of your ancestors. And all of the people that came before you, the millions and millions of people that came together throughout time and space history in order to produce you, are Egungun. They're Egun. They're blood ties. There's blood pacts, ties made with those spirits, okay? Spirits of the dead. And then there are Egbe, which are like spiritual courts or spiritual societies or spiritual fraternities. They are tribes. They are spirit tribes that we are associated with in source. So they would be like spirit guides. So you've got ancestors and you've got spirit guides. And in Yoruba cosmology, they're called Egungun and Egbe. And then you have Orishas, which are terrestrial. They're elemental spirits that are also associated with elevated ancestors. And within within our conversation, within the topic of our conversation, we're limiting our conversation to just understanding the definition of those three groups of spirits. So Egungun has its own rights. Egbe has its own rights. Each Orisha has their own rights. In the Asheshe, I'm so glad you're here, Sage. I want to explain to you guys a little bit about the, like, how the traditional African religion Asheshe works. I don't know the people who are listening. I don't know where you come from. I don't know what you already know or don't know about Ifa or what you know or don't know about Orisha, but I'm going to make it very, very simple. Simply put, if you decide that you want to be a part of the Ifa Orisha religion, okay, then the first thing someone would do would get their hand of Ifa, okay, Ishefa, which is basically becoming an Aborisha or a devotee of the Orisha. It's becoming a student of Orunmila. It's becoming a student of the divinity or the elevated ancestor associated with the Ifa oracle, okay? Orula. So when someone gets their hand of Ifa, they start learning about Ifa. It is not gate kept. It is not closed. When you get your hand of Ifa, you start learning about the Odus. You start learning about the Oriki, the praise poetry, the songs. It is not this magical, mystical, secretive thing that you find in the diaspora. It's not like this cultish, everything is closed, you can't talk about anything. If you didn't get initiated, you're not part of our, you don't have the black card, you're not part of our group. It's not like that. The Ifa corpus, or the literary corpus that makes the Ifa oracle system and the foundation of the Ifa religion, are things that people study and learn, and they learn how to recite. And you don't have to be a priest to do that. That is something that is part of the culture, okay? When I was in Africa getting initiated, you know, you go in and you sit down in front of the Babalao, who is the high priest, who is performing divination on behalf of an individual, and boys and girls, young boys and girls, children, the children of the Babalaos that are practicing, are hanging out, They're sitting on their mat. They're watching their fathers, and if their mother is an Ianifa, someone who also can cast Ifa, they're watching their mothers, and they're growing up seeing and listening and hearing these teachings because they're part of the culture, okay? They're not something separate from the culture. So when you get your first hand of Ifa, you become a student of Orunmila, and you start studying the Ifa spirituality and understanding it. And if it comes out in divination that you are somebody that needs to get fully initiated, let's say it's in your destiny to be fully initiated in Ifa, then you'll get your second hand of Ifa, Itefa. So you get your first hand of Ifa, you get your second hand of Ifa, and you are an Awo or an Ianifa. You are initiated into the religion. That's how that works. And these things are things that happen first before someone, let's say, receives anything else. So you wouldn't get crowned your guardian Orisha, or you wouldn't get initiated into Egungun, or you wouldn't get initiated into Egbe without first being fully initiated into Ifa. And in the traditional African religion of Ifa, men and women are fully initiated into this religion. Not like the diaspora, not like Cuban Ifa, where they gatekeep and will not allow women to be initiated into the religion as priestesses. And these dudes will not allow women to do anything in the religion. If you're a woman, and I know it sounds like I'm talking shit. I'm not trying to talk shit, okay, about other people's religion. I don't practice Santeria. I don't got no crystal ball. Okay? I don't practice Santeria. I don't got no crystal ball. I'm just saying, so that everybody is clear and understands, that in the diaspora, the Ifa that is practiced in Brazil and the Ifa that's practiced in Cuba and even in the United States among Hispanics and Latinos is a different religion from the religion that is practiced in Africa. They are not the same religion. They are two different religions. They come from the same source, but they are not the same religion because the spirituality changed in the diaspora because of the transatlantic slave trade and because of colonization. And colonization did a fucking number on everyone, all the indigenous people and all the enslaved Africans that had to survive and live through that horrific event. And happy Juneteenth, everyone. I posted happy Juneteenth today on Facebook. I didn't even realize, I thought it was the 19th. I thought it was the 19th all day. So I'm like, happy Juneteenth, everybody. Well, I'm going to tell you now, happy Juneteenth. But the unisex is not the proper word to use, Brenna. I wouldn't say unisex. That is, no. Equality. It's called equality. It's equal. Okay, so men and women in the Ifa Orisha religion in West Africa can both be fully initiated into the religion and become priests and priestesses. When a woman gets fully initiated into Ifa, that means she gets her second hand of Ifa, she is a priestess. She is an Ianifa. Ianifa meaning mother owns Ifa, or mother has Ifa. So because a woman has a womb, a real biological woman, a real woman has a womb, she is intimately associated with Odu. She is the embodiment of Odu on earth. So once she gets initiated into Ifa, there's nothing else for her to do. If you get initiated into Ifa fully as a male and you become a Babalao, there are other rites that are performed. So I'm an Awo, I'm an initiate, but I'm not a Babalao. I don't have that sanction. I don't have that rank, okay? But men and women who practice Asheshe, or the tradition of Ifa that comes from West Africa, both of them can cast Ifa. This is called the Opwele. Okay, these seeds come from the Opwele tree. This is the Onopwele. This is the divining chain that is tossed to get Odus and to interpret Ifa to a client. Men and women can practice that in Asheshe. But that privilege, or that this is a right, it's not a privilege. That right is withheld from women in the diaspora. So I'm not going to talk about it, because there's plenty of people out there that want to get hateful about it, and fuck them. Just fuck them. It's their problem, not mine. So the point is that you would get your first hand of Ifa, you would get your second hand of Ifa, and then you would receive whatever Orishas that you're supposed to receive. And that's it. I'm going to leave it at that. That's how that works. So getting back to our original topic about ancient spirituality, the Ifa Orisha religion is very, very old. Orisha religion is very old. As an example, Ogun is an ancient Orisha. And Ogun is associated with iron, smelting iron, blacksmiths, creating tools, creating weapons. Ogun is considered to be the Orisha of war. But more so than that, Ogun is the Orisha of technology. And what we know from archaeology is that the first people to start using iron in the world, smelting iron and making iron tools, were in West Africa. While other parts of Europe and other parts of the world were just learning how to use copper and bronze in the Bronze Age, West Africans were already using iron as tools. So they were technologically advanced. You understand? And so Ogun is the ancestor that is associated with the creation of, or the understanding, or came up with the technology of smelting iron. So Ogun is very, very, very important. And so we're talking about a very, very ancient Orisha when you're talking about Ogun. In the Ogun mythology and the story of creation, Ogun is the Orisha that was sent from heaven to earth to use his machete in order to carve and cut away a path for all the other Orishas to be able to come to earth and create. So this spirituality goes back. It is old. It is ancient. It is an ancient religion. And so what I want to get into now is I want to talk about what do you want me to talk about? I'm having a brain fart right now. I had a little brain fart. I haven't been live on my channel in a long time, and I haven't talked about anything in a really, really long time. I just needed to take a break from this channel, but I am here. I'm here. I'm queer. I'm talking shit like I always do. Get over it. Get used to it. I'm actually going to do a series of shorts and videos that's going to talk about animism, talk about ancestor veneration, and talk about spiritism in that order: animism, ancestor veneration, and spiritism, because that is the core of all of this stuff. Matter of fact, animism, ancestor veneration, and spiritism is the core of every religion. And any religion that does not contain those three elements is not old. It's just not old. It doesn't come from antiquity. It's innovation. It's something that is new. Animism is the belief or understanding that everything in nature contains consciousness and has agency. Animism is understanding that I am not the only person who has a destiny. I am not the only person who has a purpose. I'm not the only person who has agency in the world, but trees, rivers, lakes, mountains, fungus, animals, bugs, and even dirt, soil from different geographical locations contain spiritual essence. It's about essence. And so, as an animist, we see the world as being sacred. And we see ourselves as a part of the world, not something separate from it. And that agency extends not just beyond, let's say, a flower or a plant that grows in your backyard, but it also extends to man-made objects or man-woman, human being-made objects, like chairs, tables, cars, anything that has a function. So the idea or the concept here is that everything contains a spirit. If you're an animist or you practice animism, then you actively engage with spirits all the time. So let's kind of like get into spiritism then. I think ancestor veneration or honoring ancestors is a concept a lot of people are familiar with today. I don't want to talk about ancestor veneration. I want to talk about spiritism. And I want to talk about like different ways that you can start to practice animism in your life and how you can start, let's say, boosting your psychic abilities, because spiritism is about being able to communicate with non-human entities, spirits of the dead, and let's say cosmic forces, okay? For one thing, all religions practice spiritism. If you believe in the Bible, you believe that God is a spirit. The Bible says God is a spirit, and those that worship God must worship in spirit and in truth. You believe Jesus was a person. He lived, he died, he was resurrected, he ascended to heaven, sits at the right hand of God the Father Almighty, and is a spirit. Angels are spirits. Demons are spirits. The saints are spirits. Holy souls of purgatory, they're spirits. They're all spirits. So that's where the fucking hypocrisy of Christians comes in every single day, because they practice spiritism every single day in their religion. They just inherited the arrogance of the Jews, which is we're the best and everybody else ain't shit. So that nasty attitude that you find in the Old Testament, that we're better than everybody else and everybody else is garbage, Christians inherited that arrogance from the previous group of people that were involved in this kind of spirituality. So spiritism means that you're interacting with spirits, period. And spiritism exists in all religion. If you're a Buddhist and you use mantras because you're trying to invoke, let's say, a protector spirit within the Buddhist religion, or a bodhisattva, or you're honoring a Buddha, you're practicing spiritism. Because someone who practices spiritism believes that by invocation or evocation, by ceremonial or ritual act, they have the ability to communicate beyond the veil of the physical realm. Hinduism, full of spiritism. Spiritism becomes more, I guess you could say, alive and more palpable in spiritual practices that, let's say, incorporate spirit possession, like in voodoo, right? Like in Haitian voodoo or in Spiritism, Espiritismo, where someone will become mounted, we say mounted by the spirit, get jumped by the spirit, and a spirit of the dead or a protector spirit or maybe even a deity or a higher divinity will be speaking through an individual person, okay? So spiritism, for the most part, is usually associated with people who are mediums and psychics. And that ain't wrong. However, spiritism and psychism exist in all religion. So if you want to get on the path of practicing, like, say, spiritism, there are things that you definitely want to do. The first one is you want to start a dream journal. Start paying attention to your dreams. There's the protocols that I give people to start practicing this stuff is, we need to go back. Hold on. We need to go back for a second. We need to go backwards for a second because I missed a whole ass subject. I missed a whole motherfucking subject that we need to talk about. So this is an assignment for all of the 5 people watching this live, okay? You need to get a piece of paper, and on that piece of paper, you need to draw a line down the middle of the piece of paper. And on the right-hand side, you need to write down everything you believe. What do you believe? And I don't mean what your mama told you. I don't mean what your pastor told you. I don't mean what your babalao told you. I'm talking about what do you believe? What do you actually believe in? What do you believe in? What are you willing to die for? The things that you are willing to die for, those beliefs, those are the things that need to be written down on that piece of paper. And on the left side, on the other side, you need to write down your morals and your ethics and your standards of life, your standard for living, your morality, your ethics. What do you believe is right and wrong? Are homosexuals good or bad? Is abortion good or bad? Like, really, is murder always bad? Is a taking of a life always bad? Or is it only bad when is it okay in cases of war? Like, these are things, these existential problems about life and how to navigate through life. You need to sit down and figure that shit out for yourself before you ever say a fucking prayer, before you ever do a fucking meditation, before you ever light a fucking candle or try to practice any kind of magic. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't take up any spiritual practices before you figure out who the fuck you are and figure out what you believe. Because I tell you, after you sit down and do this exercise where you write down what you actually believe and you write down what your actual morality is, when you hold that document in your hand, that is your religion. That is your religion. It's not Christianity. It's not Buddhism. It's not Hinduism. It's not Wicca. It's not Orisha. It's not Ifa. It's not Voodoo. It's not Islam. It's not Judaism. It ain't nothing. It ain't a religion. Your religion is what you actually believe. Your religion is what you actually practice. And your religion plays by the rules that you set when it comes to your morality and your ethics. Do you understand? Don't try to practice magic or the occult or get involved with spiritism or anything unless you know who you are. You need to know who you are first. And if you have not sat down and done this exercise that I'm telling you to do, and you have not thought about these things, well, it's time you do that. Like now, tonight, after this live, go do that. Okay? Most people are looking for someone to tell them how to live their life. One of the reasons why Americans have snapped back to Christianity, because right now we see this surge of Generation Z and millennials and people in this country that are running back to churches. Churches are seeing people coming back to church because people don't know how to live. People need somebody to tell them how to live. People need somebody to tell them what to do. And that's what religion does. Religion is opium for the masses. It says, this is how we want society to work. And religions always support or prop the political system. Okay? Because religion and politics are one and the same. They're not separate. Religion and politics are two sides of the same coin. Politics set down the laws of the land, how trade and commerce works, and how people follow laws. But religion explains to people the existential reasons why these laws are put into place. So don't be one of those people that just decides to go back to church because you don't have the ability to figure out for yourself what is real and what is not real, what is true, what is not true, what you believe, what you don't believe, or how to live your life. Don't give somebody else that privilege. Don't hand somebody else the keys to your car and get in the car and let them drive you towards their destiny. Take control over your own destiny. Take control over your own life. Take control over your own mind and your own beliefs. I have studied comparative religion since I was, I'm 45. I got baptized a Christian when I was 15. I was a missionary in my church. I got kicked out of the church when I was 22 because I was queer. I started going to college and studying the world's religions and have been practicing comparative religion since I was 22. So over 20 years have I been studying comparative religion vigorously, okay? I have a pretty broad understanding about how religion works in general and the occult. So I'm speaking from an educated place and I'm speaking from an informed place. There's no motherfucker, not Christian, Jew, or Muslim, or Babalawo, or anyone that can tell me anything about my world or how the world works. Cannot. Can't. I take full ownership over my divine self, and I take full ownership over my choices and what I believe, because I know what people believe. And there can't be a more satisfying experience in life than being able to study and learn about all these different philosophies and all of these different religions and being able to contextualize them and put them in their proper place. Because what you believe matters. What you believe matters. It matters what you believe. Because what you believe is going to directly impact the choices that you make in your life. If I believe I'm a bad person, and because I suck a dick, I'm going to go to hell, that's bad to me. It might not be bad to somebody else, but to me, that's kind of dumb, and I don't believe it. It just doesn't sit right with me. It doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't make sense to me why a God who is love is still going to put people in a burning hell to be tortured eternally. Like, I wouldn't do that. Like, there's a lot of people I don't like. I don't wish death upon anyone. But if it was put into my abilities to be God and make those choices, I still wouldn't torture everyone. If I didn't like somebody, done. They go into non-existence. So who I am as a person, how I feel, my morality is superior to the Christian God. I feel like my morality is higher than the standards of the Bible. I don't. So it's. I know it sounds crazy. I know that that me and Sophia started this little spiritualist church, but I really need to be quite clear when I say that I can't buy Christianity. I can't buy it. There's no amount of money someone can hand me to pretend to buy the doctrine of the Christian religion. I don't reject it as being like all fake. It's not. There's a lot of good things about Christianity. There are a lot of good things. However, the theology of it doesn't make sense, and I don't believe it. So I can't embrace it. So what I'm trying to say is, if you're still in this situation where you're struggling and battling back and forth between, should I do this? Should I do that? Well, my mother told me to do this. My pastor told me to do that. My priest told me to do this. My psychic told me to do that. You got to get that shit under fucking control. You feel me? You understand? You need to get yourself under control, and you need to figure out what your values are. And here's the best part. If the way you're living your life right now is not in alignment with your deepest, most core beliefs, you are always going to have problems in life. There's something called congruency, where how I live my life and what I believe are in harmony with one another. So if I'm living my life a particular kind of way and I'm engaged in spiritual practices that are in conflict with my direct experience and understanding of the world or my views, you're always going to have problems, and you're never going to be able to get over that hump. You understand? And people that practice Ifa and people that practice Orisha are the same. All religions are just that. They are religions. They are based in truth. They're based in truthfulness. I'm not saying that Christianity isn't truthful. I'm not saying that Buddhists aren't truthful. I'm not saying that Ifa is not truthful. They're all based in reality, like experience of reality, but they're still belief systems. And they still have mechanisms of control. Somebody might grow up a Baptist, and they get to a certain age, they don't like the church anymore because they realize the church is shit. So they decide, oh, I'm going to practice ancestor veneration now. I'm going to go practice a West African religion. So they jump ship, and they go and they get initiated, let's say, in Santeria. And then they end up in the same fucking position they were when they were in church. Mad, miserable, upset, struggling between like how I feel on the inside and what my priest is telling me. And that's religion. That's the spirit of religion. Religion and politics are just like that. People who are partisan in political systems, people who are leftist, people who are MAGA, people who are Republican, people who are Democrat, people who take these identities. In order to be that, you have to buy into the belief system for it to work. And if you don't buy into it, balls deep, hook, line, and sinker, then it's not going to work for you. And the big problem that we have today in the world is that we're living in a postmodern society. We're living in a postmodern world in which the self, the individual person, is solely responsible for their own elevation, their own enlightenment, their own salvation. If you say, I really don't know what I believe really, then you are way ahead of everybody else that has not acknowledged that. At least, my love, you are being honest. At least you have the guts. At least you have the kahunas. I know you don't have kahunas. I don't know. Maybe you have kahunas. You probably got bigger kahunas than people that have kahunas. You have the ability to say, I don't know, and I'm still figuring it out. That puts you way ahead of the curve of all the other motherfuckers walking around on the street who are pretending to be something that they are not. Well, yeah. Well, the thing is like the longer you study religion and the longer you study philosophy and the longer you live, the more mysterious it all becomes. The more everything you start to connect the dots and you see where everything is connected to everything else. And then I don't want to say everything becomes just like one thing. It's not. But you start worrying less about it. You just worry less. And I'm going to tell you what, there's a workaround for not knowing what to believe. Buddha found it. Spiritual masters find this, which is you worry about how you impact the world. I don't want to, I say beliefs matter because whatever it is that you believe is going to directly impact your choices. However, if you don't know what to believe, let's say, whether to believe that Jesus died for your sins, or whether or not you should find enlightenment through a Buddhist teacher, or whether you should get initiated into an African religion, doesn't matter as much as how are you interacting with people. Because at the core of Jesus' teachings, at the core of Buddha's teachings, at the core of Orunmila's teachings, the core teachings of all these spiritual masters that lived and died and elevated were pay attention to how you treat people. How you treat people matters. Are you developing empathy? Are you being kind? Are you charitable? Do you have the ability to forgive other people when they do things that are wrong? Are you able to let go of shit and walk away from it? So the ethical teachings and the moral teachings, I think, are more important than necessarily the existential beliefs, because to be honest with you, what really matters at the end of the day, what you're judged for, okay, if you're going to throw this into what you're judged for, is your ability to be a good person across the board in all religions. Doesn't matter if it's Hinduism, Judaism, Christianity, Ifa, whatever. Your behavior, how you carry yourself through space, and how you engage with other people and interact with the world matters. What you think, what you say, and what you do matters. So even if you don't quite yet know what to believe from a religious or existential point of view, at least anchor yourself in ethical and moral teachings, which, to be honest, to really get to that place, you literally have to let go of judgment. You have to be non-judgmental. You have to let go of judgment. You have to let it go. Like, judgment is a chain around your neck that you got to let go of. Judgment is the cement shoes that will always sink you to the bottom of the depths, okay, to Davy Jones's locker. So pay attention to how you feel about other people. We live in a really complex world, and I like to see life as a game. It's important to have a paradigm, okay? It's important to have a paradigm when it comes to interacting with and being involved in the world. And I see the world as a divine game. We come here to play the game of life. I believe in reincarnation. I believe in the afterlife. I believe in a future rebirth, okay? But what I believe is that I came from source to existence, or I came from non-being to being, okay, to incarnate here because I had some kind of thing I wanted to do. I had a game I wanted to play. And I'm playing the game of life. It's like gambling, okay? And that is the view in Hinduism, and indeed that's the view in the Ifa worldview. We come to Ia, Earth, to incarnate, to do a thing, and then when we die, we go back to source. So in the Ifa Orisha religion, everything starts in the spiritual world first, and then manifest in the physical world. So even though I don't particularly remember the contracts and agreements and arrangements I made with, let's say, God or the spirit world before coming to Earth, even though I don't necessarily remember it, I know that I came here to play the game of life. And it's a brutal game. The game of life is brutal, okay? It's fraught with unexpected setbacks, with illness, with the physical matter. But dealing with physical matter is a problem. Illness, disease, mental and behavioral health problems, these are all things the spirit has to deal with when it is embodied, when we have this physical body. Most of your problems are biological, even your mental problems, even your way of thinking, even your patterns of behavior, even your patterns of thinking. A lot of it is biological. Because you're so wrapped up in this physical existence and being in the physical body, most of what you're experiencing is comes from the senses, comes from the physical body. And so we get wrapped up with over identification with the body. And we forget that we are spiritual beings having a physical experience. So we get all wrapped up. We get wrapped up about being black or white, about being gay or straight, about being male or female or something in between. We get all wrapped up in these identity politics. And he said and she said and did this and he fucked her and then he fucked him and then he fucked her, and all of the stuff, all of the human drama that we experience on a daily basis. Okay, it's part of this game that has always been played and will continue to play itself out till the end of time. These things will never be resolved. These issues will never be resolved because we're on an algorithm. Reality is an algorithm. We're moving on an algorithm. It's a mathematical game, okay? We're playing a game of math. And the world that we live in is this algorithm. And you, who you are, is part of, it's woven into that algorithm. Your life, your existence is part of that weaving. It's woven into that algorithm. You understand? So trying to break generational curses, trying to cure, hereditary diseases, trying to break free of limiting self-beliefs, trying to break cultures that maintain systems of control. We live in a systemically racist society and a systemically misogynistic society. Misogyny and racism are a thing. And actually, I would say the biggest problem in our society is the difference between the sexes. It's not even race. So when we talk about like what are core issues that we need to look at and we need to examine and we need to try to heal, the first thing we need to try to heal is understanding this dichotomy between the masculine and the feminine. And then everything else stems from that. So I'm just going to leave it at that. That, you know, our differences in the realm of spirit, we are one. As soon as you manifest on earth, you're something. Now I'm white. I'm a white dude. And I've got, you know, I have mousy brown hair now. It used to be red when I was a little boy. Now I'm having this physical experience and I have to navigate myself through this fucking world being a object, being a thing, and dealing with that. Having a dick, okay, having a sex drive, having an emotional makeup. And who I am biologically, which is I'm biologically driven, we're all biologically driven, is coming into conflict with everyone else who's dealing with their own biological driven drives. So for me, shadow work is the ability to sit down and take accountability and responsibility for who you are and your actions, and understanding how your shit plays out when it comes to interacting with other people. What am I projecting onto other people? You know, these are things that you have to do. That's the work you have to do if you want to be liberated, if you want to be free from the system of the game. Don't hate the player, hate the game. But you have to liberate yourself from these self-limiting beliefs that hold you back. So I want to say that you can practice animism and ancestor veneration and spiritism without being a member of any religion. You don't have to be initiated into voodoo. You don't have to be initiated into Ifa. You don't have to go get baptized a Christian. You don't have to go swear in as a Buddhist monk. You can practice spirituality as an individual person. You don't have to feel forced to buy into anything that you don't believe in. And you don't have to feel forced to practice things that are not in harmony with your nature. It just happens that who I am as a person and like my personal belief system is in alignment with the Ifa system. It took me 20 years after Jehovah's Witnesses kicked me out of their church for being queer. It took me over 20 years to open up and to trust the spiritual world enough to allow myself to enter into a covenant relationship with another spiritual system. Took a long time. It was traumatizing. And I had to get over a lot of religious trauma. I had to break through a lot of religious trauma in order to get to where I'm at. But what's beautiful about the Orishas is the Orishas are never going to tell you what to do. The Orishas are not going to punish you when you make a mistake. That's not what the Orishas do. This colonized worldview that people have that, oh no, if you fuck up, the Orisha's going to get you, the Orisha's going to get you, that's bullshit. That's not how it works. The Orishas are there to help you in life. The Orishas are there to support your existence. The Orishas are there because they guide you, okay? Like Orunmila, the Orisha, is going to tell you how it is. You sit down and divination is performed for you, and Ifa is going to tell you, yo, look, this is where you're at, and this is what you need to do to improve the quality of your life. If you don't follow that advice, then you're going to get whatever it is that you get. If you follow the advice, it can improve the quality of your life. It can even redirect you away from harm's way. So Orisha spirituality primarily is about protecting an individual. Orishas are not demons. There is a word for spirits of misfortune in the Yoruba cosmology, and that is the Ojogun. No, wait. Yeah. Ojogun. Why am I having a brain fart right now? Those are spirits of misfortune, okay? Spirits of poverty, spirits of disease and illness. And the idea is that if you're living your life in a way that is in alignment with your destiny, okay, and you're moving forward and you're demonstrating Iwa Pele, good character, and you're doing what it is you're supposed to do, then the Ojogun are in a way blocked or kept at bay by Eshu, who is the owner of the crossroads and also karma, justice. Eshu Elegbara in Yoruba cosmology is karma. He's the embodiment of karma, cause and effect. Eshu is the cosmic principle that maintains balance in the universe when it comes to justice. Eshu is the justice of God. So the idea is that from a magical religious perspective, making sure that you are living in harmony with your destiny, okay, and you're demonstrating that good character that is personified, is a way of being able to keep those negative forces at bay. So Eshu is always appeased, and it's a symbolic way of honoring that principle, that force of cause and effect. Does that make sense? So the concept of karma exists in Ifa in the same way that it exists in Hinduism. Like I said, these are old religions. They've been around since forever, and these principles and these concepts are old. Well, man, I just went off on a tirade rampage, didn't I? I just talked all kinds of shit. But here are some things that people can't tell you to do. No one can tell you how you can and cannot pray to God. No one can tell you how you can or cannot talk to your own ancestors. No one can tell you what is right or wrong for you. And no one can tell you how to practice your religion. So this is my opinion after going through all of the things that I've gone through over the past, let's say, 6 or 7 years. Which is, I think it is most important that someone figure out what it is that they believe and then live in harmony with their beliefs. I have come into conflict myself with the Ifa religion. I'm going to say it. I'm going to be quite honest with you. Do I believe that the Ifa Orisha religion is a beautiful religion with a rich history and culture that comes from antiquity that is ancient? Yes, absolutely. However, I have come into conflict with how to practice and maintain my relationship with the Orishas while also dealing with living in America in a contemporary culture. As an example, you can't practice the Ifa Orisha religion in America the way they practice it in Africa. Why? Well, for one thing, culturally, we have a big culture difference. Culturally, we're different. So I'm going to say something, and I don't want anybody to get ass hurt when I say this. We are Americans, and we have a particular kind of lifestyle, and we have a particular kind of mindset that we have. And even if you go all the way to Africa and you get initiated in this religion and you come back, you were American before you went, you were an American when you were there, and you are still an American when you come back. And so, like West African culture and Yoruba culture, whenever you're practicing a religion, you have to understand it's part of an entire culture. It's not separate from the culture. So anybody who is not literally born and raised in Nigeria, okay, born and raised in the culture, is never going to get it. Never gonna get it, 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 never gonna get it. Yeah, yeah, yeah. You're never gonna get it. To quote In Vogue. That was like the gayest thing I've ever done. You're not gonna get it. Okay? And that's okay. You're never going to be able to have the deep understanding of the religion because it's not something that you were born and raised in. It wasn't a worldview that you were raised in. So that is the first problem that people who decide that they want to get initiated into this stuff are going to find. That's if you're going to go to Africa. Here's another thing. If you're a Black American and you start getting wrapped up in Santeria, or you start hanging out with Orisha people that are Hispanic, you got to understand that Santeria, Regla de Ocha, and Lukumi is a Hispanic manifestation of these traditions. So a lot of Black people that start getting involved in Santeria, and they're like, what is all this Catholic stuff? What does Jesus have to do with Orishas? What is all of this Spiritism stuff? What is this Allan Kardec stuff? What is all this French Spiritism that's incorporated into this, right? So there's a lot of Black Americans that get involved in Santeria, but they don't feel it because they're not Hispanic and they're not part of the culture, and it's just a different culture. Hispanic culture is just different. So culture matters. And I'm not going to say ethnicity matters because it's not about ethnicity. It's not about your skin color. And it's not necessarily about your ancestors. But it is definitely cultural. All religions are manifestations of cultures. So if you're trying to practice a religion that is outside of your culture, you're going to have problems because you're not going to get it. But that's not a reason to sulk. That's not a reason to get upset. That's not a reason to quit doing whatever it is you're doing. It's just being honest about culture. If you're not part of the club, you're not part of the club. And that's not a reason to be upset. What I'm proposing is a third way. And the third way that I'm proposing is you need to figure out what ancestors mean to you, Egungun. You need to figure out what spirit guides mean to you, Egbe. You need to figure out what your relationship is to nature, Orisha. You need to figure out what your relationship is to Oludumare Olorun, God Almighty. You need to figure out those things, regardless of the language that you use, regardless of your culture, and regardless of your wants and desires. I think a lot of people want to get initiated into voodoo, or a lot of people want to get initiated into these religions because they want to be something. They have this, it's like this desire to be important, or to be acknowledged, or to be recognized, I guess. You see these witch bitches on TikTok They go over to Africa, they get initiated in the religion, and then now all of a sudden they have come back to the United States and they are the authority on everything. They are judge, juror, and executioner of everyone that practices the spirituality. And yeah, nah. We're not about that shit over here. I am concerned about you figuring out your own way, which is why I am here to tell you I don't necessarily believe that becoming a member of a religion is for everyone. I don't necessarily believe that becoming a member of a religion is going to fix your problem. If you're in this mindset right now where you're like, oh, if I just get initiated, it'll fix all of my problems. Wrong. You will get initiated, and then you will get initiated and have problems. Your problems don't magically disappear because you join the Catholic Church or because you get initiated in Ifa or because you join a monastery and go become a Tibetan Buddhist. Your problems don't get fixed that way. It's a very immature, spiritually immature way of seeing the world. There is not a magic fix that is going to fix you. You have to fix you. I think that if you approach, let's say, this spirituality with your feet on the ground, grounded, and you make informed choices, okay, then is it, if you get initiated because it's something that you want for you, because you want to have that experience, because you want to have that connection, because you want to have those experiences, because you want to have your Orishas, then 100% do it. When I got my first hand of Ifa, I went down to the river and I called out to Oshun and I told Oshun that I would become one of her priests. A matter of fact, what I told Oshun, I actually told Oshun multiple times, before I got my first hand of Ifa, before I knew that she was my guardian Orisha, I said to Oshun, if I get my hand of Ifa and it comes out that you're my guardian Orisha, I will crown you. I made a commitment. I made a promise. And so I got my hand of Ifa. It came out that Oshun was my guardian Orisha. That was in Cuban. I left the Cuban Lukumi tradition. I jumped to Asheshe. Came out that Oshun is still my guardian Orisha. Even in West Africa, she's my guardian Orisha. So they weren't wrong. And I got crowned Oshun there because that was what my ancestors wanted. My ancestors did not want me to crown in Lukumi. That's not what they wanted. They wanted me to go to Osogbo. They wanted me to have that experience. And that is the experience that I got. And let me tell you, man, was it painful. And when I say painful, I don't mean like physically. Well, it was physically painful. It was rough getting to figuring out what it was I needed to do. I tried to get crowned in Lukumi like 3 times. I kept interacting with Orisha priests in the diaspora, and every single time I was setting up, like trying to figure out the logistics about getting crowned, something always happened and it was not right. It just wasn't right. It didn't feel right. The person wasn't right. There was issues, there was complications, like it was just not right. And I said, you know what? Forget this. We are going to go to Africa to do this. And when I made that decision that I was going to go to Africa to do it, all the paths started opening up. I found the Babalao that was perfect for me. I found the perfect temple in Nigeria. to go to get initiated. And Oshun carried me all the way there and carried me all the way back. Hey, what's up? Is it Keontae? Hey, did I say your name right? What's up? How you doing? Am I your favorite brujo? Thank you. I was just talking about my personal journey in Orisha and how I ended up getting crowned. It just is what it like. Whatever's going to happen is going to happen, and you just have to trust the process, and you're going to figure it out. Like the spirit is going to guide you, and you just have to have faith. That's the thing about spirituality. You got to have faith. You have to have an informed faith, but you just have to have faith, and you just have to. Here's the thing. What do you need to pay attention to? What are the things that you need to pay attention to in the spiritual world or operating in relationship to the spiritual world? If something doesn't feel right, it means it is not right for you. It means you need to leave. Let's say you get a new Babalawo or Ian Ifa, or you get some other priest, or you join a church, or you decide that you're going to join somebody's mentorship program, or you're going to be involved in something. And you just feel like, you know what, there's just something here that's just not right for me. It's not, it's just hitting me wrong. The energy is off. Like there's something going on here, and there's something inside me that's kind of like rejecting this. It means that you need to get the fuck out of there. It means that your spirit team, it means that your spirit guides, it means that your ancestors are telling you, this ain't for you, baby. You can ask me any question you want. Doesn't mean that I can answer it, but you're more than welcome to. So, no. The answer is no. Depends. In the Lukumi Santeria religion, they will ask the Orisha about the person who's getting ready to get crowned an Olorisha. They will ask specifically, like there might be a woman, like I'll give you an example. There are people who are celebrities and stars that get initiated, and they will do divination specifically asking their guardian Orisha if they have to shave their head. If the Orisha says through divination, you have to, yes, she has to shave her head, or yes, he has to shave her head, then the head is going to get shaved. If it comes back in divination that no, it doesn't have to be shaved, then the person will, I guess, will be spared the bald head. Aw, I love you too. Thank you. Aw, you make me feel all warm and special inside. Give me a warm, special, happy feeling inside. So no, it depends. So here's a very important point that I want to point out. In the Ifa Orisha religion, everything is done through divination. Everything is divined upon. And everything is divined upon for an individual person. So every single individual person is different. What you need is what you need. What I need is what I need. And what I need might not be what you need. But that is only going to come through divination, the divination process. Okay? So I know that there are people out there that say, she didn't shave her head, she's not really initiated. Fuck all those motherfuckers. Fuck that shit about naysayers and all the haters who want to talk shit about other people's initiations. It's not your fucking initiation, so shut the fuck up. It's not your initiation. You're not the person getting initiated. That person is the person getting initiated. And if that person's Orisha says they don't have to shave their head, then the Orisha said whatever it said. Yeah, do you feel me? We got a big problem in the diaspora of people running their big fucking mouth and not staying in their lane. My recommendation for anybody that wants to practice Ifa or anybody who wants to practice Orisha, this is what I have to say. Find a Babalao or an Ianifa or an Olorisha that you connect with, that you're on the same page with. Work with them for a while. Work with them for a while. And then determine whether or not this is the right person for you to initiate through, or maybe it is the right person for you to initiate through. But worry about yourself and don't worry about anyone else or what anybody else has to say about you, because other people's opinions about you don't matter. They just don't. I have lots of books. I have written many books. I have written books on chaos magic. I've written books about Orishas. I've written books about Sansei. So yeah, I'm on Amazon. Just go look up Philip Ryan Deal on Amazon and you'll see all of my books. I've got more books. I'm working on more stuff. Right now I'm working on a book about overcoming religious trauma or working with religious trauma under a Christian context. Oh, I hate it. I really don't like it. I don't like the book. I don't really want to release it. But then at the same time, I've got this ancestor that's in the back of my head that's like, just release it. You know, it's going to be helpful for people. It's going to help somebody. There's going to be somebody that reads that book that needs it, and you're going to make money off of it. So release it. So I got that person in there. And I'm also working on my first fiction book, my first fictional book. I'm actually going to write a book of fiction. Oh my God. It's going to be interesting. Yes. So the two books that I'm really, really super excited about right now are my two Orisha books. One is called Wisdom of the Orishas. This book is about the Arendelle Lagoon, the cowrie shell system. But I tell you what, it's got really beautiful pictures in it. Check out that picture of Oshun. It's AI. What I love about the world is I didn't graduate from high school. I'm a high school dropout. So I actually do, I'm not going to lie, I'm going to be straight up honest. I definitely use AI and I use Word and I use all kinds of support tools to help me be able to create my book. Look at that. Look at that picture of Oya. Isn't that gorgeous? So that is my Wisdom of Orisha book. And then I have Ori Guide Me, which is a book about the Ifa system of divination. But I mean, it's about the system of divination because that's really the core of the practice. So